first, as the clock will tick away. Usually, team's very, very quick on that one. But no surprises there. The League of Draven will not be happening for Freeze once again.
No,
Olaf to follow.
not.
So Cabo gets denied a pick that has proven very comfortable for him.
Yes, Olaf has actually been rising in popularity quite a bit in the top lane, given, as we were just mentioning, the shift in the top lane meta being more towards those off tanks. I'm thinking back to the game that we saw from Splice yesterday. That Fizz Olaf combo was terrifying to play against because of how easily it runs onto your backline. So H2K, they want to take that away from Cabo, and they don't want to have to deal with that big beefy front line.
No, and Vitality, by the same token, they don't want to deal with the Trundle, possibly foreshadowing a setup maybe for the tank top instead. But Cabochard, he's looked so much more comfortable when he's allowed to carry, but H2K are going to remove even more options from him. The Aurelia is now banned out.
So a lot of top lane bans. I think we were right to choose the top lane matchup as our featured matchup, because now we're running out of picks for both those players to choose. So maybe we'll see a bit of a shift. Will we see the Jax come out? We did see a Rumble yesterday. All sort of exciting stuff coming out in the top lane.
Yeah, Odoamne pulled that one out. Didn't match too much success for them, unfortunately.
No.
But we are going to likely see that shift in the picks, and I'm curious to see where these two carry-oriented top lanes, where they go. Although Odoamne, he's been obviously more comfortable on some of those tanks. Maybe Gnar comes out again. There's a lot of options. Gragas, though, is going to be the last ban for H2K, so they remove a comfortable jungler for MightyBear. And Vitality, they're going to have to dig a little deeper into their champion pools.
It's also actually been taken away from Odoamne. This guy
that's true.
3 games, 3 wins on the champion.
But
so
they did it themselves.
They did do it to themselves. That is a very valid point.
They had to. It's a double-edged body slam.
Yep. So they took that one away from MightyBear, who also has pretty good performance so far on the Gragas. And now we have to think about what's left available. Kindred still up on the board. Nidalee, we haven't seen it much priority in our first series of the day, but depending on how much these two teams value it, still considered a pretty strong pick.
The Karma first pick, though. Vitality double in on that one. So that is very curious.
I'm expecting that to go into the support role, but you can flex it, you can put it in the mid lane. I like to think of it as very similar to the role that Lulu provides. It provides a lot of shields, provides a lot of mobility, really good at peeling and protecting the important carries. But if you put it down that support role, the best way to think of it is that discount Sivir. So she provides a lot of utility, and definitely KaSing has had some good performances on it so far.
Crucially, Sivir's still up if they want to double down on the mobility, but yeah, that is locked in, and we will likely see it in the support role, but there have been surprises from this Vitality squad all the same. H2K weighing their options. What do they do to counteract this? Still, with all the top lane things banned pretty much out of the pool, we talked about the Kindred being available. Jankos is a very, very aggressive jungler, but instead he opts for something a bit more comfortable. It's going to be the Elise, followed by an Ashe for Freeze.
So H2K going straight for that pick potential. They have the Ashe to catch that single target out of position. They have the Elise to catch that single target out of position, and they can be hyper aggressive in the early game, which we know Jankos loves to do. In the games that we've seen from H2K in the past, it really is Jankos setting up the plays for the team and really being involved with setting up his team for plays. We have to remember that this guy, holding 83% kill participation in his team, being involved in 105 of their 126 killed. This guy loves to get into these fights.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely critical, and there's a reason we used to call him the First Blood King. Although lately it's been kind of back and forth whether he's giving or on the receiving end of it. Vitality, though, they're weighing their options on the other side. MightyBear looked a lot more comfortable when he's been able to play tank champions. They flirted with the Kindred for just a moment, but I think this Rek'Sai is a lot more likely.
It does. It can match the early pressure that Elise can put out, and you're also going to eventually outscale.
Okay, they did a Demacian switch on us for just a second. So Ezreal comes out. That should be into Police's hands, but that is a lot of mobility in that bot lane.
Yes, it is. You have a lot of self-peel on top of the peel that Karma can provide, but it's also great for Police because now it enables KaSing to roam around the map and be a little bit more team-focused in terms of setting up the rest of his lanes for success. And because Police is on this Ezreal, he can play more defensive. He doesn't have to rely on other people to get through what could be a rough early game and what could be very dangerous during these team fights. And it's also going to be very good into these potential picks because you have that arcane shift to avoid out from that single target CC coming from H2K. MightyBear on this Rek'Sai, though, I do like it. It will be able to match the early aggression from Jankos, and it will eventually outscale if he goes to that Cinderhole route.
Yeah, H2K, they've got themselves a still fairly scary zone away with the Zyra being picked up. A lot of damage being dealt with, the team starting to pick up more and more of this champion, functioning as this secondary AP carry. If you combine with all of the pick pressure they've already got, it's insane. And as we thought about, the Gnar falls into Odoamne's hands.
So I had a great conversation with Crapo about Zyra, this Ashe Zyra bottom lane, and he basically said, it's hard to explain to you how powerful this lane is. Just play it for yourself. So I jumped into a solo queue game, gave it a go. Oh my word, there is so much poke in this duo pair in the bottom lane, and they pretty much beat out the vast majority of other matchups because there is no way for you to even remotely trade back with the relentless poke that's coming out from this Zyra. And how do you engage onto this bottom lane? They have so much CC and crowd control to prevent any kind of immediate collapse onto this duo pair.
Yeah, well, with the last picks locked in for Vitality, KaSing gets to lock in the Zilean, and a Fizz picked up for Cabochard, have a bit of carry pressure in that top lane. They really waited down to the wire to do it. So it is a good thing there's an Ezreal Karma, just because, I mean, we won't want to speak too soon because we could still see support Zilean. We've seen the Karma go mid, but if they do take that as their duo lane with still some seconds before the locks lock in for H2K, they are going to at least have the tools to two-step out of that poke, but it's going to be a real dangerous dance.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lane swap coming out from Vitality, to be totally honest. If they go for the 2v2, they're going to get hard pushed underneath that turret. They're really going to be able to struggle to... they're going to really struggle to deal with the pressure that's constantly coming out from this H2K bottom lane. And when you have Elise, who is so powerful in the early game, Jankos can pretty much just sit the bottom half of the map and make sure that Ryu and Odoamne get through to what could be any kind of dangerous threat from MightyBear. So wouldn't surprise me to see Vitality avoid it altogether. And with that Fizz, they're going to have that tanky backline threat that is actually very good into these low mobility carries like the Ashe and like the Viktor. But it's still a bit of a risk given that Fizz right now is a bit of a discount Echo in terms of what he can provide.
Yeah, but they are definitely doubling down on their ability to delete people very quickly off the map. If you take a look at this H2K comp, actually, minus the Mega Gnar possibility, it's actually kind of squishy. So there is a possibility for them to get into that backline and deal a lot of damage. But that being said, you know, if you play around the Gnar bar, if you get Elise fairly tanky in the front and you get a lot of picks early on, which this team is very capable of doing, Vitality could be in a hole before they even begin.
Vitality do have a very mobile composition, that is for sure. The Fizz, the Ezreal, the speed boost from both the Karma and the Zilean.
Yeah, we're not even talking about the Zilean, the death denial he can bring, but also the speed double bombs. We've seen some Zileans not fare quite so well, but into the Viktor, the very early game, well, we'll talk about that a little bit later anyways. Don't want to give too much away as this game's going to get underway.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I do really like this composition coming out from Vitality, especially because it seems to be that they've identified the big weaknesses of H2K's comp, which is this low mobility. And yes, there's a lot of zone control, there's a lot of ways to disengage, but because of how much revival there is, how much slipperiness there is, it's actually just a really good way of being able to get onto the backline of H2K. And as long as Vitality can get through what could be a rough early game, I think they're setting themselves up quite nicely for these mid to late game team fights.
I think you might have something there. Teams are loading up onto the Rift. Remember to keep those Twitter fingers going. Hashtag VIT win or H2K win. The series is kicking underway here in the LCS Studios. And here we are onto the Rift.
So, game one between Vitality and H2K. I'm really excited for this matchup. I think that back in spring, this would have been one of our featured matchups of the week because of how talented these two teams were fighting for those top spots in Europe. Now, with the collapse of Vitality not living up to the hype that we expected, it's very much a one-sided affair for H2K.
Yeah, certainly looks that way, but Vitality still have some hope. And if they can disrupt this team composition from H2K, if they can get a quick win on the board, the momentum can start to swing their way. I want to see how this early game plays out. There is so much movement speed. Also, there's so much to fight over. You saw it right in the corner there. We got an Infernal Drake on the Rift for the first time in the studio.
Woohoo!
Today, that is.
Infernal Drake.
Yes.
Finally, we're going to see some early game action.
That's the Vedius cheer. Woohoo!
Yeah, woohoo! Saw that echo quite a bit then.
I'm going to let that just hang for a little while.
Right, so right now both teams posturing for the potential lane swap. I think H2K want the 2 versus 2 into Police and KaSing. We already mentioned how oppressive that Ashe-Zyra combo is, and it's mostly just the Zyra. Zyra really is the oppressive part in this combo.
Who's the real carry?
So they've rotated their bottom lane up to the top half. Vitality trying to go for the lane swap. They haven't got quite deep vision in to the same extent that Rocket and Schalke had in their first series of the day. But right now they're going to move in aggressively, want to get some vision down onto this red buff to try and identify where H2K is starting off.
Ooh, stepping into enemy territory. H2K know this, but it's just going to be the ward down, spying the plant as well. That should have really tipped them off. KaSing is actually making his way up, and he will run right into Vander, who's already got the plants out to start zoning away. And Free is getting the quick damage on the minions.
So, welcome to Zyra's lane. where basically you have no control over what happens. You just have to eat all the poke. And I'll tell you what's most irritating about this matchup, right, is with the changes to Zyra in particular, she now doesn't have to actually land her Q because there's an area around the Q that as long as your plants are in that outer area, will still spawn the plants. So even if you dodge out the Q, it doesn't matter because it's still going to spawn the plants. You're still going to take poke, and it's not worth you trying to clear them because you're actually going to take more damage trying to clear them than you are just running away. So it's such a difficult lane to deal with, and this is why we've seen so much popularity of it over in North America. And to be honest, Europe have been a bit slow to adapt.
Yeah, this is just so darn irritating. I'm getting Undertale flashbacks right now. Last time I got that much hatred for a flower.
I've never played Undertale.
I'm not going to add any context. You should play it right now. Just stop casting.
So
I can
flowers
follow.
Are
okay. Nobody tell him, please. Anyways, back to this game. We've got the standard lanes, which we didn't see in the last series. We know about the Ashe Zyra lane, how oppressive it can really be. Obviously, Odo, well, minus the MightyBear pressure, Odo and Cabochard are just going to try to trade out. But I really want to zero in really quickly on this mid lane.
Yeah.
How does Nukeduck on the Zilean fade into Rio's Azir?
So in the early game,
Viktor.
In the early game, Nukeduck will have the advantage. The double bombs are irritating, at the very least, to deal with, simply because it's hard for Ryu to actually trade back, simply because Nukeduck has the range advantage, and Ryu won't be able to match the sort of wave clear until he completes his Hex Core. Once he has the Hex Core finished, usually Nukeduck, because he has the ever so slight range advantage, will still win out in the trades, but Ryu will try to avoid those trades at all costs, and it'll very much become a wave clear matchup. But prior to that, it's going to be very much about Ryu being forced underneath the turret due to the constant bombs that are going to be coming out from Ryu.
Yeah, and Ryu has the summoners for it, but going for the Ghost Flash, we talked about it maybe being a disrespect thing against some things like an Azir and some things with a lot more lockdown. Obviously, it's more forgivable when there's less direct CC on the side of Vitality, but he now doesn't have that extra teleport. Vitality have a little bit more global presence that they want to make known here, but H2K, they've already started off. They're getting the bully. This top lane, it seems like this is where things are going to start going from, but the lane swap, with the Infernal Drake being the first on the board, you have to imagine the teams might try to swap back down and contest them.
Yeah, well, the thing is for H2K is they're going to keep shoving underneath the turret for Vitality, and unless Vitality finds some way to relieve this pressure, that tower is slowly going to be whittled down, which means that H2K can rotate back around to standard lanes, and they can look to set up that early game.
Yeah, level advantage in their pockets as well. Nukeduck, woohoo, he takes a little bit of extra damage there. Ryu has to be happy with that trade. Jankos, though, hanging out close enough to gank in this jungle, and always got to keep an eye on him being involved. As you said, so many of the team's kills. So crucial, this jungler, part of H2K.
So really interesting interaction with the mid and jungle as well. Nukeduck was giving away that blue buff. Rek'Sai isn't a jungler that really relies on it, so it's okay for him to give that away, but look at the teleport in the mids, yeah, that's going to come straight out from Nukeduck, and he's going to get stunned up.
Takes a lot of damage, Siphon Power adding more, but there's the bomb traded right back and forth. And, interesting choice for Jankos, too, to start the game off. Instead of finishing up his jungle upgrade, he goes straight for the Ionian boots.
So, actually quite interesting that Elise has decided to pick that one. Going for very early cooldown reduction.
Yeah.
We saw this earlier on from
ganking all the time.
Yeah.
That is exactly what that says
well,
to me.
We saw this from Vedius too. And what we have to remember is on 6.11, the Swifty Boots was nerfed by 5 movement speed, not quite as cost efficient anymore. And now we're seeing a shift towards this Ionian Boots. Junglers have decided they actually value this cooldown reduction because they're not really getting it from anywhere else. And so it just helps them in terms of setting up ganks, having their rotation up a little bit more often. I am surprised that Jankos has decided to go for it very early on, but I guess he just values that additional movement speed that AT Boots provide.
We'll have to see if it ends up paying off for him. His opposite number, MightyBear. He's gone for the blue smite instead, so he'll be definitely looking for more ganks. And speaking of MightyBear, let's take a look at where he's headed right now. Cruising underground. I don't expect a dive, so that's, just going to be the quick vision. See if he can get a spot out on to Jankos. MightyBear having mixed performance in his debut here in the European LCS last few weeks. Odoamne going Mega Gnar. No way Cabochard's going to dive in onto him now. And even though it's a bit protracted, Fizz and Vander go right back to the top lane once again. Instead of trying to get the swap around, continue this oppression. Zyra Ashe.
Yes. To be fair to Elise, he's actually doing a great job of farming under tower. KaSing helping him out wherever he can to just make that a little bit easier. But this is what we were talking about. Because there's so much pressure and because of the plants being super obnoxious, what you end up in is that tower slowly being whittled down. And it comes back to what you were mentioning earlier as well, which is about this dragon. What H2K can do is they can take this tier 1 turret in the top lane, they can rotate back down to the bottom half of the map, and then they can look to pick themselves up that Infernal Drake. And it just comes back to that point we were making earlier. Vitality play long games, and that is exactly what H2K want. They don't want this messy early game, obnoxious kills all over the board. They want slow, they want patient, because then they can take advantage of the fact that they know how to play the map very well.
That much certainly hasn't changed. They find themselves that 500 gold advantage, but MightyBear is looking to try and change that. Gets inspired, and it's flash, but he gets the knockup on a freeze anyways. Smites down for the slow. Grasping Roots will do a bit of return damage to him, but not nearly enough. Look at that, 3 summoners burned for a smite, by the way.
Low mobility duo pair means that once that MightyBear gets sped up, it's so easy for him to get on top of that Ashe. And this would be a very different story if H2K's duo laning pair were level 6, but because they're not, they're able to just burn a couple of summoner spells. Well, I mean, they're forced to burn a couple of summoner spells, and H2K, they're now going to have to start playing a little bit more cautiously, which is why Jankos has moved to the top half of the map.
Still, game being mostly controlled by H2K, just laps there with MightyBear being able to slip in unopposed and nearly getting a quick pick off. But without any summoners, you have to think if he focuses up there again, Fizz and Vander cannot afford to be stepping too far out. And this may give some breathing room for Police and KaSing to they're still keeping even in farm, but to keep getting some tower damage back for themselves and preventing even more from happening to their own.
It's definitely true. And it does actually look like the H2K are going to return to standard lanes. They've had enough of bullying around Vitality's bottom lane. They said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go bully your top laner instead. Cabochard, as we mentioned earlier, had 2 player of the games against UOL. And it looks like they're going to try and revert back and put a bit of pressure down onto this Infernal Drake.
See how that ends up going for him. Fizz and Vander will not necessarily tag Odoamne out. He's actually making a feint of sticking around here, seeing if they can get a pickup on a Cabochard. There's Gnar, though, when the game's up. They're just trying to pressure down. Cabochard knows he can't stick around to defend this, even with MightyBear waiting in the wings. This might be the first tower, and we could see the later stage trade. Might be just enough time for H2K to also nab that dragon, or at least start it.
Yeah, and the thing is, Odoamne also has a teleport available, so if H2K get themselves the turret, what they can do is they can use the TP to just rotate around or rotate Odoamne back to the top half of the map. He can try and defend in a 2 versus 1, which with the range Gnar, it's quite easy to do. And so right now, H2K, again, just playing the map beautifully.
Yeah, with Jankos starting on the dragon as well. This gives them all the opening they wanted. As the late game goes, they're going to be very happy with that Infernal Drake. It doesn't give quite as much in the very beginning of the game, but it will be greater and greater as the game goes on with that 8% extra AD and AP. So, towers traded. Ashe Arrow at 6, going flying, but Nukeduck is able to dodge away. However, there are 3 members trying to chase him down. Wave's getting cleared away pretty effectively, but that is still some fairly free damage. No response from the Vitality side.
Certainly is. H2K playing that very nicely. And right now, H2K are in a great position because they've got a lot of damage down onto that tier 1 in the top lane. The bottom lane turret, tier 1 turret for H2K has not been touched. And because the wave is pushing towards Odoamne, he can soak up all this farm. H2K's duo pair can just return to the top half of the map, shove the wave underneath that tier 1, pick themselves up that objective next. So that's going to be 2 very early towers going in their favor. They're getting themselves the Infernal Drake. And it's just, again, H2K playing the style in which suits them. They love to play the map, and they just play it so well. Yeah,
Vitality stuck to playing catch-up here. They're going to try to muscle move down onto the bottom side. Police and Cabochard doubled up to the hybrid lane to push away Odoamne. KaSing is still here, too. He's just waiting in the wings around. This might be yet another tower trade. But Fizz and Vander, despite the fact that they were slower to get to it, they have a lot more damage already on the tower to work with. Vander tanking a few shots of the minions. And even though we didn't have the lane swaps, we do get to see those towers traded back and forth. H2K a little quicker on it thanks to the damage they had already put out.
And look at the positioning of Jankos as well. He's now in the top half of the map. H2K can just keep pushing because Cabochard, he's sitting in the bottom half of the map. The bottom lane of Vitality are recalling. And H2K realize this, they're not going to overcommit, but still, they're going to have the wave pushing in their favor, which is all it's about. This wave management in the early game is so important because it has the snowballing effects as you progress later on.
Oh, Nukeduck. Oh, the flash for flash. The cocoon will not connect. But the arrow, right on it. That's take 2, and Jankos sinks in the fangs. That's going to be chrono shift taken, but he will not live for long. No flash. Vitality can hope to punish him back, but first blood over to H2K. The fish will not connect from Cabo. Chaos Storm causing exactly that. Ryu's taken out. Cabo will revenge. They did actually get 2 as Vander went down relatively quick there. It's a 3v3 with Ezreal not quite into the mix just yet. Odoamne, KaSing going extremely low though. They have enough damage to take him down, but it's all a feint as Police comes in, and we didn't think we'd get the 5v5, but here we are. Odo going big on the Gnar, but he's gonna have his work cut out for him. There we go, a double kill over to Jankos.
So a full-on 5v fight results in a 4-for-3 going in favor of H2K. That fight should have gone in Vitality's favor initially, but they get a little bit too greedy. They want more kills to add to their belt, and H2K punished them for it. Odoamne with such a beautiful ultimate. But let's just see how this whole fight kicks off, because Nukeduck, he plays a little bit over-aggressive in the mids. You'd think that the exchange would be over after the flash cocoon, but no, they have the ward. They know exactly where Nukeduck is going to be. You get the arrow onto Nukeduck, you get yourself the kill, and then you're just buying time. Okay? So Vitality, they're coming in for the collapse. Police is working his way in. The teleport comes through. MightyBear comes in from under the wall. And then this is where things start looking very promising for Vitality, because Cabo, he gets the kill down onto Ryu. And now, Vitality, they should be happy. They should just back off, but they want to chase. They know Police is coming in from the side. KaSing, way too squishy, level 6. Trying to get the only hard CC down that Vitality have, and now you're forcing yourself into this choke point, which allows Odoamne to get that beautiful ultimate, which enables H2K to get a 4-for-3.
Yeah. And just true to Jankos, keeps on with 100% kill participation. Obviously, just about everybody's involved in every kill here, but all the same, he was a crucial factor of that. Even if he didn't land the cocoon, he was able to get more, and trying to take away a bit of farm, as Vitality, on the other hand, will opt to grab the Rift Herald, with H2K still staying strong at the scene of the crime.
Interesting, deciding the fact to put a bit of value on that Rift Herald. They want to make sure that Cabo is that powerful split push presence and can be that carry up in the top lane. Definitely useful to have on Fizz, and it is the Trinity Force Fizz. So this is something that I was theory crafting the other day, because I actually think it's quite interesting now that crit is gone. Fizz actually gets a lot more benefit from Trinity Force than he did before, and I think that it makes so much more sense because you still get the Sheen proc that you get if you'd gone from the Iceborne Gauntlet. You don't have as much utility, but it just means that you have so much more overall damage, which is better for the team.
Yeah, better spell rotations as well. It's 15 minutes. There's another Ashe arrow, and like clockwork, they begin again. Same spot. MightyBear is gone. Ryu sees to that. The rest of the team, no answer for Vitality to take.
H2K. They set up the deep vision, they get themselves the pick, and fortunately for MightyBear, he was not keeping a close eye on the map to realize that H2K were all missing, and he just falls prey to the phenomenal pick potential that H2K's composition has.
I didn't think bears had any natural predators, but apparently it's H2K.
And giant frost arrows.
That usually will definitely spell the end of you. Freeze has had some really clutch ones so far this game, keeping an eye on him as he progresses. Next dragon, Infernal once again, will spawn in about a minute's time. H2K controlling that area of the map. They have the 1,500 gold advantage, I should say. Vitality, sure they will not be so keen to give this one up.
So I've just thought of a great play-by-play moment in my head that I'm now saving for the opportunity.
Okay.
It's going to be great. You're going to love it. I know you're going to love it. Because
you're setting yourself up here, mate.
Yeah, I know. I
want to see how well you do, though, man.
Well, we'll see. As MightyBear taking a bit of poke.
And taking a lot of CC. Still, tankiest member on Vitality right now. Not as much to worry about. Vitality really trying to rely on being able to get ahead with this Cabochard Fizz 2-0. He's got himself the kills. Can Vitality turn for this tower, however? They've got several members there while the rest of H2K have been shoved off. This might be the moment to get themselves a bit more. Cabochard waiting in the wings. Odoamne, though, he's nearly got Gnar, and they're able to defend no problem.
Wave clear is so strong for Ryu. He has now completed that Mark II Hex core, which means that he is going to be easily able to clear out those waves, and he's working towards that Rylai's, which synergizes so beautifully with his ultimate. So he's going to be basically scaling towards, I want to do damage, Viktor, which, no surprise, being that mid lane carry. Whereas Nukeduck building much more utility, going with the Rod of Ages, likely into the Morellonomicon. You want as much mana as possible on Nukeduck, as well as the cooldown reduction, so you can spam those bombs out as often as you can. And basically, if you get enough cooldown reduction, when you stack that up with your W, you can pretty much get your ultimate off twice in a single fight if you time it properly.
Well, with the slow and steady fights that maybe not we have seen this game, but in general, we can certainly expect that one. Dragon going to be started here by H2K. Cabochard not around right now. Neither is KaSing. They may have to give this up, and it's just going down way too fast. MightyBear, they could try to snipe steal it, but Police does not find the true shot in time. That is number 2 to H2K. 16% AD and AP on H2K's pocket.
Looking very terrifying for Vitality, but this just comes back into what we were talking about before. Vitality playing the style of game that H2K thrive in, where it's so slow, methodical, very much about map play in the early game. And while Vitality have shown signs of promise in terms of being able to respond to the setups that H2K have made, when it comes to objective control, H2K have this game down.
Yeah. H2K definitely leading the pack here, and you know, there's a reason they're ahead in the standings, even if it was only by a 2-0. But they have the jump on this game for sure. Dinner bell rings for Rek'Sai back in the jungle. But so far, H2K keep on running this map. A lot of ward vision coverage on the bottom side. Nukeduck was looking to help out with Cabochard up in the top, but Odoamne is easily able to hold that line. See what H2K can get done elsewise here with the towers, the outers taken. It's really going to be eyeballs on the mid lane to see if the teams can start to muscle in. We've seen a lot of skirmishes. Extra experience for Police.
I'm just keeping my eye on some of the item builds that are being completed. Freeze has now finished that Essence Reaver, but with Police completing that Trinity Force, he will be doing a bit more damage than Freeze will until he completes that Ruin's Hurricane. So important to note that scaling advantage in favor of H2K. They definitely have the stronger late game. But the mid game is where Vitality's composition really shines, especially when you have this double Trinity Force comp coming out from Vitality.
It's true. But they definitely have the work cut out for them to deal with the Infernal Drakes. The 2 Infernal Drakes that H2K have is going to be more and more potent as the game goes on. In the moment, they have to start acting very quickly right now, and we just haven't really seen them make the right plays at the right time as of yet.
No, we certainly have not. Look at Cabochard though, just still sitting in the side wave, putting so much pressure down in the top half of the map.
He knows he's safe too.
Is nowhere near, and Freeze is going to have to go and respond. So I like the fact that Freeze is waiting for the minion wave to really overextend towards H2K's side of the map so that he feels a little bit safer, because Trinity Force Fizz, definitely something that an AD carry wants to avoid, but looks like Cabochard, he's going for a fight very aggressively in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, Jankos actually said, get out of here, this is my red buff. He's able to smite it away. Baron is about to hit the rift with 20 minutes in. We've seen all sorts of stuff today, but I don't think these are the teams that are going to be rushing down the big purple worm. Wave clear, aplenty on both sides. It's hard for either team to really force down a single lane, so they really just keep going with this fluid 1-3-1, and the game's sort of settled a bit at the 20-minute mark.
Certainly has. The next Drake is Cloud, but it's not going to be up for a little while. And I don't think either team are really going to fight for that in the same way that an Infernal Drake has. I have a feeling
you just might be right, Vedius.
Just a hunch. Just a hunch, but
still some time away too. But yeah, it's a little unfortunate. Vitality, they're probably going to be looking like a kid at Christmas who finds coal in their stockings. After the good brothers and sisters, H2K got the nice present, got the N64.
I think of the Cloud Drake is the ugly duckling.
Ah,
so
we're going with that metaphor
yeah,
instead.
no one likes
the memo.
it until finally Riot decide to buff it, and then it becomes the beautiful duckling.
So when Riot buff it, it grows up. That's what you're saying?
Yes, basically.
All right, I'll give it to you.
Until then, though, it's the ugly duckling.
Continue the ugly.
He's gonna
stay
dragon. The ugly duckling.
That's just mean, dude.
Well,
what did Cloud Drake ever do
welcome to the Rift, where murder and violence is promoted.
Apparently it's kill or be killed.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so Police and KaSing are going to keep on matching the wave clear par for par with Ryu here, but there still is not a whole lot to fight over. The Drake aside, it's really these 2 mid lanes where there's only viable objectives for the team to try and take right now without overextending. And the cautious nature is kind of winning out for now.
But it's also because there's so much wave clear.
Unless they get a catch.
Police.
Oh, it was only Jankos.
Only Jankos.
Ryu's waiting in the wings.
Oh! Freeze in the name of the law!
Sink! the arrow, and Jankos taking a bite. That was fantastic. You're going to take my job.
I'm so happy that that actually got set up. Oh man, Fizz gets the pick down onto Elise. They get the kill. They even force him to burn his heal, and H2K find the pick they want. Now the question is, can they force any objectives?
Well played, Vedius. That's all I can say. It's going to buy some time now. H2K, or buy like a minute where they can start to push in. The Ezreal wave clear's gone. The double bomb just got spent by Nukeduck, but they still got a wave. This tower's at less than half health. Vitality can't afford to defend it.
No, they cannot. That was what H2K needed to finally get themselves that tier 1 turret. Both you and I were just discussing the only objectives on the map really for the teams to play around were those tier 1 turrets in the mids. H2K recognize this. They find the pick down onto Police. And then with the numbers advantage, they realize they can force this objective, and now they've managed to build up an ever so slight gold advantage.
Surprise Ashe arrow, always coming in handy. Vitality making moves to try and get some vision over on the Baron, actually pinging this one right now. They're going to go ahead and start it. There's a quick teleport in, trying to take advantage of a momentary lapse as Jankos was not near, but they don't have the damage to take down the Baron. H2K arrive, and they stop it.
I like the idea from Vitality. Unfortunately, the Spidey senses did kicking from H2K. Arrow comes out on the Nukeduck.
Oh, it's another one, but he flashes this time. Still having to burn the summoner for the ultimate from Fizz. Not too shabby. H2K still running this map, building that gold lead, 3,000 ahead, and well, it looks like it might be time for the ugly duckling.
It does seem that way. H2K know they have the positional advantage, so they're going to be able to quickly pick this one up. Fizz is going to start it off, and with the fact that we've already seen 2 Infernal Drakes, my internal clock, is it clock? I don't know. My internal senses suggest that the next one will be an Infernal, but they want to try and catch out Jankos.
Yeah. Spidey senses at the very least. Jankos does send the Cocoon on. They've caught Cabochard. In comes the fish. True shot doesn't land where they want it. MightyBear trying to disrupt in the backside, but he's only going to succeed in getting himself killed. Nukeduck throws on the chrono shift, but it's not going to be enough. Another kill. MightyBear is down. H2K outfight time and time again.
Vitality, unfortunately, do not have a composition that is built around forcing these really powerful 5v5 fights. They do have the Fizz, they do have the Zilean, which when you combine those two, you'd think great, really good at teamfight damage, really good at getting into the thick of things and diving onto the backline, but then you have this Ezreal who basically wants to keep everyone at arm's length, wants to kite with the Karma, so hyper-aggressive play from Jankos, stealing away the Raptor. And then he's just sitting at the front. Cabochard, really nice Cocoon coming out from Jankos to provide that peel for Ryu to get the ultimate down. But then Ryu can just keep kiting back. And look at this, the rest of Vitality, they just can't get involved in the fight.
Cabochard got chunked out oh so fast, and this is part of the danger of going that Trinity Force first. Your stats aren't quite that tanky, and we talked about tanky on-hit Fizz being the possibility before we saw that, but you know, this is a different story, and Cabochard is getting burned by his own choices.
Certainly is. So Inferno will be next on the menu.
Oh boy, Vedius.
What can I say?
Your game senses were correct.
Color caster, diamond player. It's all coming together. This is what I was built for.
We've seen your resume, all right? You don't have to keep telling us. We believe you. It's diamond in 3s, by the way, guys. All right, so this is critical for H2K though, right? For Vitality, excuse me. When that Drake spawns, you can't not fight for that. It gives so much, in aggregate, it gives so much fighting power to H2K. They've already shown that they know how to fight a little bit better every single time. You cannot concede this buff.
Thing is, that's exactly what H2K want. Arrow comes down onto MightyBear.
He tunneled right through it.
Yep, Murktride's coming in handy right there.
Oh yeah.
Just avoiding that CC and just wiping it off.
Well, and that's emblematic of Vitality. They are a very tenacious team, and despite the rough start that they found themselves in, you know, a 2-0 over Unicorns, giving them some hope, but H2K are just a team of a very different caliber, and they're making life hard right now as Jankos going very aggressive again. Can't sink the Cocoon this time.
Certainly are. It just, to me, this Infernal Drake will pretty much be, I don't want to jump the gun, but I want to say the nail in the coffin for Vitality.
I'm thinking the same thing, though. This game has been run by H2K.
It certainly has. What you're going to create is a situation where Vitality are forced to make a decision. They go for the 5v5 fight, which we've already seen does not go in their favor because they don't really have a full-on dive comp, and they don't really have a perfect kite comp. They have a split push sort of 1-3-1 setup, which right now Vitality are struggling to execute. And H2K, even if they don't go for the fight, are going to get the third Drake, which is 24% additional AD and AP, and H2K are basically saying, your move, Vitality, your move.
Yeah, puts them in a very, very tough situation. There's always the chance of the stray flank, but they're not getting an opportunity here. They need to be able to get some more vision to be able to try and get into that backline. We talked about this in picks and bans being the way that they were going to get to them. Dive in, kill Ryu, kill Fizz. You saw them trying it, but there was way too much of a front line. And if they don't respect the Gnar bar, if they don't respect the Zyra damage, there is no way they're going to live through another fight.
Exactly that. So right now, H2K, they're setting up for a potential freeze around this mid lane. Freeze? Siege?
No pun intended.
Potential siege around the mid lane, but the wave clear from this Zilean is enough to buy Vitality time. But H2K, they don't care. They just want to use this as an opportunity to get some deep vision town, potentially rotate around and take this tier 2 turret in the top.
Yeah, I mean, they've got options. You talked about the next Infernal Drake. Well, we'll talk about it in a minute because the arrow ifs. But they've also got Baron as an option. Look at how much vision they've got in this side of the jungle. They can bait a Baron. They can bait a 5v5 before worrying about the next dragon. If they can win another fight, they might start marching on inhibitors real easy.
The Rift is their oyster right now. They can do whatever they want with it. There is very few options for Vitality, and I'm just thinking back to the draft that Vitality picked for themselves yesterday against UOL, and they had this composition where they ran the Viktor in the mid, they had the Gragas, they had the Aurelia, and they had a Caitlyn Janna. And they basically said, okay, we're pretty good at kiting back, we're pretty good at taking turrets, but it's actually very difficult for us to force a fight. And they made it very difficult for themselves to win. And I feel like we're seeing a very similar thing here for Vitality, where the draft itself is not awful, but it's just so difficult to actually properly execute. When you want to try and take that up against a top 3 team, it is such a different story against a team like UOL.
Absolutely, and this is what Vitality's finding out. So we're seeing this clear separation of teams that are in that top 3, and despite there not being a massive difference in standings, just a difference in caliber. H2K, you know, it's good that Vitality are facing them at this point when they're starting to get a little bit of hope. Yes, they're getting their hopes and dreams crushed, okay, but they're learning what they need to do. They're learning from this game. Hopefully they're learning how to come back better and stronger, and I'm not saying you should give up this game. You should still try for the miracle play, but we could see Game 2 being very different. A team like Vitality, a very smart team, even though we've criticized a lot of their decision-making, can adapt.
They certainly can. And what I'd like to see from Vitality is just aggression. It was so hyped. Remember that they brought in MightyBear overshook.
And he said himself in an interview that he was, I'm going to be this aggressive jungler, and I'm just going to be jumping, getting all the kills. They put him on tanks, but at least it's something like Rek'Sai that can get in the edge.
He recently hit top challenger, rank 1 in Europe right now. I mean, this guy knows how to carry. He knows how to be the playmaker. And we're yet to see that from him. 0-3-3. He is getting caught out. He is trying to help his team in these fights, and it's just not working out because he's being left out to die. And it's just unfortunate that the cohesion and Vitality just does not seem to be there.
Or maybe the team's too heavy. It could still happen at LCS level, right?
Yeah, MightyBear, they're weighing you down.
Well,
here's that third Infernal Drake.
It started already down to 3,000. Teleport around the backside for Cabochard. They've got to go for the smite fight now.
He gets it!
MightyBear, he gets the chance he's looking for, but the Gnar bar's almost full. Odoamne on the chase down. Can he find the damage? No, H2K. They get the dragon stolen right out from under him. Highway robbery, and even Cabochard gets away.
MightyBear, what a hero play. Such a great steal. That is the best case scenario for Vitality, where you get the Drake and you get away scot-free. That could not have gone any better for Vitality. And H2K, they're just kind of left standing there going, what just happened?
Woo! Excellent move. Vitality, they're still in this. It's still a really tough game, but they've effectively negated one of the 2 of the Infernal Drakes because they denied one and they got it for themselves, so they even up a bit more on damage. Still H2K, big advantage to them, but Vitality just proved they can still tango on these objectives. Baron now becomes the next de facto on the Rift. Next Dragon's going to be Elder, and H2K will be pretty unhappy with the fact that they couldn't pick up a round 3 on the Infernals.
It certainly will be. But Vitality are going to be very happy that that was not given away. So right now, we return to standard lanes, and we're approaching that. I feel like we're approaching that 40-minute mark. I know it's just gone past 30, but in my head I'm like, that's where we're going with this game.
Well, Vedius, we'll have our answer in about 8.5 minutes, that's for sure.
True.
Vitality, though, I mean, in a game where they tried just so hard and got so little for their efforts. That was the culmination. Yes, we can still make these plays. We can still be heroes. That's the little miracle. They need to still be able to find these fights. If they can delete Ryu or Freeze before it begins, even Vander, they might just have a shot at taking it.
Sorry, I just had a really random thought where I looked at Cabochard, and he's like, he looks like a goldfish. As Vander now being caught out.
This is the state of the game. I'm trying to analyze, and there is Vedius. MightyBear's caught up, though. They don't have the damage. They tried to delete Vander, but that is going to prompt H2K to start this Baron. Teleport in. Nukeduck is coming to mid lane. But guess who's coming to the Baron pit? H2K starting this one off at 5,000. No smite fight. They're going to have to try and fight it out. Freeze, he flashes, has the bomb on. Odoamne, Gnar, tanking all the damage. It's going to be smited down in the backline. Cabochard trying to delete Freeze, but he is denied. Ryu will turn him around. And H2K, they're the ones this time who get out scot-free. Blinking health bars and all. No one dead. Nukeduck cannot find any more bombs.
Clean execution from H2K. They get the pick down onto MightyBear, who overextends, tries to catch out Vander, ends up being punished heavily for it. And then, with the numbers advantage, they know that they can take that Baron. They use their tanks perfectly, they switch out positions, and they make it impossible for Vitality to get close enough in for that potential steal. So just keep your eyes on Odoamne. He's that big front line. He's the guy just stopping Vitality from closing the gap. And he is just enabling Jankos and Ryu to slowly clean up the Baron, while the rest of Vitality can't do anything. Cabo has to flash in to get onto Freeze, but it's not enough. And then H2K get the Baron, they get away, and now they're breaking into the base of Vitality.
To be fair, I've never seen a goldfish flash, so at least he's got that going for him. Vitality, they tried to make the hero move, but with MightyBear gone, there was so few options they really had here. Looks like H2K, they're approaching the end game, so we talked about a 40-minute prediction and Vitality having some hope. That started to dry up and die on the vine. Can Cabo hold this against Odoamne? The rest of the team in the mid lane, uncontested for now.
Certainly is, and it's just going to be a slow bleed up for H2K right now. They have the double Drakes, so not only are all of their big carries ramped up, they've got 3 major items completed. The poke is going to be relentless. Zyra has even finished the
Leandri's Torment?
The Leandri's Torment. I haven't seen that in such a long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, except on Zyra's, right?
Except on Zyra's.
I mean, yeah. Rumble's back, I guess, so we're seeing a little bit of that, but yeah, it's just so gross. Those plants sting so bad, man.
Yes, they do.
Gotta bring...
When you get... Well, to be fair, Drag not as effective on the Zyra as it would necessarily be on lots of AP, but here you go. Another turret going down in favor of H2K.
Freeze is allowed to mission Ashe Arrow if they take the tower. It's okay.
Yep.
Still sieging down. The Baron empowerment, the 2 dragon buffs, well, the third, if you really want to talk about the extra move speed they're getting. Just continuing to start shoving in, looking more and more like H2K are going to clean up this game. A big gold advantage. It's approaching 10,000. 8.5 at the moment, but Odoamne, he's completely free pushing on the bottom side. The 4-1, not a whole lot they can do. Cabochard finally coming here for the defense, but Odo's not even going to leave. He doesn't need to respect this. Look at the level difference. 3 levels between these two.
Yep, and that's just because Odoamne has been collecting a lot more farm than Cabo has. He's been constantly overextended up in the top, pushing it underneath the turret, whereas Freeze has just been then collecting that farm, and while he's been staying even with Police, he has not been paying attention to Odoamne, who's just been constantly free farming in the side lanes and basically optimizing that teleport much better than Cabochard has been able to.
And he cannot hold the 1v1 any further, so they start breaking into the base on the bottom side. Gnar engaged. MightyBear still trying to tank up this tower, and the poke just keeps on coming. It's a gauntlet Vitality have to run through of plants and just about everything else. All that damage. Odo still making Cabo's life difficult. Vitality, they're not just on the back foot, they're about to back off the edge of a cliff.
They certainly are. Inhibitor number 1 goes down in favor of H2K. Cabochard, he doesn't have the wave clear, he doesn't have the damage. Vitality, they want to try and get a bit of damage down to H2K, but H2K after picking up that inhibitor, they're just going to back away.
It's the same thing we said. If Vitality want to play the late game that they're happy with, H2K will match and beat them.
Yes.
Just a better team in that regard. 36 minutes in, we've seen them break into the base. They have more than double the towers. Vitality, they've got answers, or they've got a lot of questions, but can they find answers? In this game, it is looking unlikely.
Certainly seems that way. Vitality right now, they want to try and contest this dragon. It's the last big objective on the map, really to contest for. And really, this is Vitality's last hope. They're down an inhibitor. They are down 4 turrets compared to H2K. And if they can somehow get this Elder Drake, maybe they can find Navidu back into the game. But To be honest, I feel like it's unlikely. I feel like at this point, Vitality need to be focusing on what they can do moving into Game 2, simply because H2K have got such a great draft that Vitality have such few answers for it.
And that's a real crucial part of how this game is shaped out, what H2K were able to pick up in that pick and ban, what they were able to do with the execution. Elder Dragon is live. Vitality know that this is their last chance to defend and keep their game alive. After a 2-0 over the Unicorns, they might have been bolstered a bit, but this is just such a rough one to face down. 37 minutes in. H2K, they are very patient about it, lying in wait for Vitality to overstep their boundaries.
They certainly are. H2K, they don't need to force anything. Super Minions pushing in the bottom lane. Nukeduck is forced onto wave clear duty. And it's just a very tense situation right now. H2K, they're finally going to start off this Dragon, and this is likely to be the game-ending play.
4 members on the Dragon. Odoamne still rocking the teleport. Tower is taken solo by Odo. They don't even feel the need to continue on this Dragon because he's completely uncontested. They're going to turn their energy towards the mid lane instead and try to march down the line. Cabochard will be here to defend. Inhibitor's already at half health though, and H2K are going to go right back to it.
They just need to keep doing this 1-4. The teleports are available on Vitality, but if they try to teleport to stop this from happening, then H2K can just leave Odoamne to end the game. So they're going to pull this one out. Odoamne easily out-trading Cabo at this point in the game.
Even with Nukeduck there, not much they can do. MightyBear, all he can hope for is another Miracle Steal. There's a teleport coming in. Police finding plants blocking his way here. H2K, they're not even going to risk it. Even with the teleport, they just say, okay, we will back away. Let this reset. We have plenty of time. And Odo, once again, freely pushing in topside. Cabochard will finally join him. Meganar's about to complete, and he just keeps on going.
Odoamne very easily picks up that second inhibitor, and this is pretty much just the Odoamne show
Brutal,
right now.
man.
We wanted to see that 1v1 matchup, and Odoamne definitely pushing Cabochard around right now.
Oh, yeah. Odo has definitely proved that he is in this game, in this team, a better carry. Cabochard hasn't had the same impact, and Vitality, a lot of their strengths we just haven't seen manifest in this game either. Nukeduck, you know, we've not often said his name. He's been not invisible, but just not really having a huge impact. And when they were winning games, prior to the 2-0 yesterday, they had pretty much a live and die by Nukeduck rule. His Lissandra was proving really key, but the Zilean pickup, it's just not had the same level of impact. And once again, back to the Elder Drake. H2K, like clockwork, they just keep on going.
They certainly are. Vitality, they need to make the mighty play here as here we go, the double TP.
We started, 7,000. Drake has not regenerated its health. Vitality, time is running out in this game for them to try and make the play. Jankos a little low. H2K sensing danger, beat the retreat, but Dragon has not started to regen. It's down to 5,000 and a half. H2K know that now they have to finish this fight or at least turn their attention instead. Odoamne trying to chase down Cabochard. Dragon will start to regen. No one wants to fully commit to this one. But Super Minions are streaming into the base, and Vitality have so little time to pull this trigger, trying to commit to the Dragon. True Shot Barrage comes in. They've got almost no time left. Nukeduck is locked up, and they're going to get his Chrono Shift. Chaos Storm down. Vitality still frantically trying for the Dragon, but Jankos coming ever so close. He takes it away. They've got everything from it. Vitality. H2K keep on the chase. MightyBear, desperation, nothing doing. They've got 2 down. Traded for Jankos. H2K running wild while the Winions take care of everything.
Oh my word, H2K. They could not have gotten anything better out of that. The Super Minions are closing out the game. We're at 40 minutes, and it looks like H2K are going to be taking Game 1 of this best-of-2 series.
And that just sums it up. Odoamne chasing around Nukeduck, hunting him. And with KaSing, the last man standing, unable to go back the base, the Minions just finishing the job. You called it, 40 minutes, and here we are. Down goes the Nexus, and H2K, calm, cool, collected, pick up the victory.
We said it at the very start of the matchup. Vitality, if you're going to play the style that H2K won, you're going to get beaten at. You need to make these early aggressive plays. You need to be on the proactive side. You need to be telling H2K, no, you're going to play our beat. There's no way we're going to let you play your own game. They couldn't do that. And it really boils down to that very first play at the beginning of the game, which was that 2v2. Ashe and Zyra into the Ezreal and the Karma. They constantly get forced under turret. On top of the fact that the Infernal Drake was spawned, H2K played the map perfectly. They chunked out the top turret, they rotated down to the bottom half of the map, they picked up that objective, and then it was just constant control. They get the tier 1, and it's just, they rotate back up, they get objective after objective.
And they don't overcommit to anything either. They were able to peel off time and time again, just fade out of existence when it looked like the threat was happening, and then boom, there's no more teleports. We can go in, we can contest this. It was one of the most controlled games of League of Legends that I've seen, and if it hadn't been for that one Dragon Steal, I think it would probably be the cleanest.
It probably would have been, and it would never have been a perfect game because of that messy team fight that we had at the very start.
No, that's true. We did have a bit of a 5v5, and then both teams were like,
all right, clean game.
We're going to play very serious from here on out.
So we do have the picks and bans on screen. I do want to quickly, or we did. We had the picks and bans on screen. You just got trolled, man. I did. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the draft coming out from Vitality, because this was something that we did bring up during the cast and something that has been brought up in the past for Vitality in particular, where they seem to be picking some random stuff from time to time. And
yes,
the thing about this draft in particular that I was not a fan of is you have Cabochard playing this Fizz, which is basically a backline threat, right? Which is great, cool. You need someone to follow that up with, unless you want him to be that solo backline nuisance threat that Echo often did, where he's just constantly diving and then he just retreats, and his goal isn't necessarily to kill, it's just to be obnoxious. And if you're going to do that, you need damage to come from elsewhere. Now, Ezreal, it's not that he lacks damage, but when you pair it up with a Zilean, you really lack damage, and you're pretty much putting all of your eggs on the Cabochard basket, and with a Trinity Force Fizz, that's not really enough damage to be able to deal with Ryu on the Viktor, Freeze on the Ashe, and the goddamn Zyra. I mean, Zyra did so much damage in that, and it was just Vitality, not necessarily a bad draft, but not one that was easy for them to win the game.
Yeah, and natural conclusion of all that is what happened at the very end of the game. Let's take a look at that final Dragon fight. Just seemed so protracted, but so controlled. Vitality, they had it going, but here we go.
So what was so smart about this play from H2K was the fact that they never fully committed to a fight. It was constant back and forth because they were just allowing the super minions to slowly close out the game. And then once they realized, or H2K realized, that the Dragon was about to be taken down, Jankos goes in for the flash play. He's able to get the steal. And then because H2K is still all grouped up around the blue buff and Vitality are kind of spread out, the moment MightyBear overcommits, it just becomes a train of one after the other, and H2K are able to clean up, and then the super minions end the game. So overall, just phenomenal play coming out from H2K.
Yeah, very, very clean from them. And, you know, that was that game. Of course, we're going to take a look and check in on what's happening on the other stream.